everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of Lunch at the Unfriendly Black Hotties table. I am your favorite internet friend or foe, Trisha Cheeks, and we've got a fun group with us today at lunch. I first want to kick off by introducing someone who's here for the first time, but is a long time member of the Unfriendly Black Hotties table, Morticia Black. Morticia, hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm here.
Yeah, we're here. We're so glad you're on. We know you've been dying to get on with us for so long. So this is your lucky number 7. We're glad you're with us.
Yes, it's about time.
Yeah, it's about damn time. Indeed. And then we have the fabulous Sama.
Hey y'all, it's good
Hey.
to be at the table again.
And we're dragging her back from a yoga seminar. Doc Dubs. Doc.
Hey,
We need a
hey everybody.
we need a yoga episode. We'll plot that for episode 2.
Yes, it's going good so far. I haven't, messed up anything yet. So about 50% through. So I feel good about it.
I think I can speak for all of us and say we don't really see you messing anything up.
No,
No.
We just, we just don't.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that confidence.
Yeah, you're welcome. I meant it. So episode 7 is going to be a fun one. We're going to be talking about basically, I'm going to call it the movie of the year so far.
Hmm.
There's been a
and you would be
handful.
correct.
There's been a handful, not many. The new Superman actually looks decent, but it's not as big as Ryan Coogler's Sinners, which came out earlier this year in February, I believe. And it
Hmm.
is the synopsis. If you haven't seen it, you can watch it now. It's streaming on HBO Max. It's probably in a dollar theater somewhere. So if you want to see it on a big screen, you can go do that. But the synopsis is trying to leave their troubled lives behind. Twin brothers, played magnificently and handsomely by Michael B. Jordan, return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that there is an even greater evil waiting to welcome them back. The film is set in the Mississippi Delta in the early 20th century, 21st century. Yeah. And um, it's really wonderful, but it is historically accurate. It is wonderfully filmed. The colors, the costumes, everything is spot on. So we're going to talk about it, and in relation to the audio erotica and books we love so much, and characters and things like that. We're also going to have our classic segments, tenderoni of the week, which we still need to decide. We'll probably decide it live, and it'll be like election results, and we're gonna have WBQC book club because you guys really like that because we're glad most of y'all can read, and we're gonna have a really, really, really special edition of Hear Me Out where we're gonna have like a mythical beasties edition, and we'll explain that later. So Sinners has is wonderful. It has a 97% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is really, really high.
Hmm.
And even the critics love it. What did you guys like about the film, or any particular scenes we want to kick off starting with?
I liked the entire thing. And honestly, that just the opening scene of um, like when you open up into that wide shot of the field as Sammy's riding the car back to the church from what will be the night that you see of everything just going completely wrong. Um, that opening scene just kind of like the whole thing just like transports you right into like the most beautiful yet heartbreaking part of being black in the South in the 1930s because you've got the life you're living on this plantation still as a sharecropper. You've got this kid, this young man who's trying to find his own way, and these cousins, his cousins, these brothers coming home to a place that they know because they've already done some things that probably shouldn't when they migrated north. So it's such a like deep, rich history you get straight from that first scene. It just like sucks you right in.
I, oh, where to begin?
Yeah.
Even there's so much that I love about this movie to echo Doc Dubs. But one of the main things that I'm always looking at when I watch a movie is how it is lit. As a dark skinned person,
Hmm.
oftentimes in films, y- people it's almost as if people don't really know how to like portray us on camera, and to make us, look as beautiful as we are. And so I really love that the people behind the camera, you can tell that they had a lot of respect and reverence for Black people and Black skin to make sure that everybody looked their best on camera. So I really love that. Another thing that I love is that even though it is set in the Mississippi Delta, I feel like also that is a part of the Great Migration story. We
Hmm.
hear, of course,
Yeah.
about the Smokestack twins. They did a reverse migration, but the fact that they did migrate up north, and that I'm sure resonated with a lot of people who live in Chicago today, and have roots and like their family members who are from the Mississippi Delta. But then also towards the end, when we see Sammy as an adult, he is, living up north. So it just speaks to, I think, a story that is so, um, I think that the Black experience is just so, what's the word I'm looking for?
Authentic.
Not quite expansive.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
Hmm.
expansive. Yeah.
we have, and I think I love how Ryan Coogler, who is himself a descendant of the Great Migration, he told this story, also from the perspective from people who lived in the South during that time and have still to this day have roots in the South, but also he made a story that those of us who don't have any like current ties to the South could still relate to because we are descendants of the Great Migration. So I love that.
Yeah, this I went into this mostly blind. Like I had heard, I think months before that Ryan Coogler was doing a vampire movie with Michael B. Jordan. I'm like, that sounds interesting. And then by the time it came out, it's like everybody and their mother was just giving it rave reviews. I'm like, you know what? Let me go see this. And I went to go see it with my partner and thoroughly enjoyed every second of it. The story, like you could probably say that like you could see like a bunch of different movies like relatively with some sort of similar plot, but the way that Ryan Coogler did this in particular and like took the time to weave in so many different things, like things that like even on what my fourth or fifth rewatch, I'm still catching. Like he, you can see like his eye for detail and his love for like not just blackness as a whole, but just like black culture, music, just everything. It's a perfect movie.
It truly is a perfect movie.
Yeah.
Like
It's,
even if
I
it doesn't.
rarely.
Yeah.
Mm,
One thing I
Yeah.
really loved about it as a history nerd and as a southerner is that echo. I'm gonna fix that. But is that it was just very authentic to the era. I
Hmm.
don't. What really irritates me about historically based dramas or psycho thrillers is that little details will get messed up, or they'll leave a Starbucks cup on a table in a shop. Um,
oh, I was just talking about that yesterday.
but
What
yeah,
happened in Game of Thrones?
that's what I really liked about it, and just the acting was great. And as a former film student, I just love seeing those long, wide, medium shots that Ryan Coogler just did to really take in the landscape. And Summer had an excellent point. This is why representation is important. because I really loved how everyone was lit, even, as the movie progressed into the night.
Hmm.
And that, nobody, even in 1930s Mississippi, nobody was ashy or, didn't look their best. Everybody was like, went out to like really party that night. And it was just a good time. It was honestly a good time, a really great watch. Like Morticia said, on the second or third rewatch, I'm catching little nuances and things and outfits and the background of the stores. It was just a good. It was just it's mesmerizing. It really is my favorite movie I've seen so far this year, and I love vampires. Who doesn't
Yeah,
like Who doesn't like a
Yeah.
good vampire movie?
Hmm.
This one even had Irish vampires, which is great.
yeah. And honestly, I took a films and history class in high school, and we always like most, if not all, of the movies we watched were like white. I'm just gonna say they were most of them were white. I think I had to convince my teacher to let us watch Imitation of Life and like two other movies. I think we watched like Cabin in the Sky and something else.
Oh, shout
And
out to Citizen Kane because everyone likes to play Citizen Kane.
yeah, and there was a moment where I was watching the movie and I was like, this would have been had it well, it would never have been made in like 2006. But had this movie been made in 2006 while I was in high school in that class and been able to watch it with that particular group of students, um, the debate afterwards probably would have ripped that whole classroom to pieces. Because one, I was one of the only black students in there, and two, we're talking about the South, Jim Crow, black music, and white people trying to get into spaces they're not allowed into. And you all have heard my mouth enough to know how I feel about um, inviting people into places they should not be.
Yeah, I was just about to. I'm dusting your pulpit off now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if we were in that classroom at that point in my life when I was still just as loud as I am now about my blackness, um, I would have ended up with a conversation between my teacher and my guidance counselor at 16 years old because I would have said some words and they would not have liked those words because I had already gotten into trouble in that same class because I decided to sit on the side of the KKK when we watched Birth of a Nation because I wanted them to hear how stupid they sound.
Yes.
So when that scene came up where the he Remick is like in at their door and he's begging them to come in and he's using everything in the playbook of a white racist person at that time to like get them to let him in the house. They took my wife, they took my kids, they are they took everything from me. I have nowhere else to go. You're the only people I've seen for miles when clearly you in the middle of nowhere. You've run past everything that you could possibly run past to find this one house because you knew that these particular people would be the ones to let you in. You hid your accent, you hid what they would actually actively hate about you in order to get into their home. Then to only have the natives show up and be like, "Yo, there's a dangerous man out here. Is he in your home? Yes or no?" And because that woman chose to still stand in her beliefs, they was like, "Okay, cool. Sun's coming. Sun's going down. We out. Peace and blessings. You have a nice night."
Hmm.
And if I were sitting in that classroom and we got to the part where we would debate this movie, that is the scene I would have picked out for them to realize like, do you see how stupid this was? Do you see
Hmm.
how he master manipulated them into death? He
Exactly.
whether you believe towards the end they were actually going to wait around for her was it the guy that sold him the juke was it her uncle or something? I don't know.
It was
But
it
it
was
was
the
It,
husband's
yeah, it was the
uncle.
husband's
It was
uncle.
yeah.
yeah.
So would they have waited around until morning or the next night to go and kill her uncle? Absolutely not. I don't believe they would have. I don't believe they would have waited around to come and get him in order to protect the Duke. Because for what? What would that Duke have served you in the end if everyone was turned? If you got what you wanted in Sammy, because that was all he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So it made me think of how I would have like debated this film in that class and the amount of people I probably would have made cry, and it was nice.
You know what that particular scene I was just thinking of as you were talking is that it really speaks to how white people will protect the whiteness at all costs.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that it is literally it's literally their downfall as we're seeing today in our current political climate. But especially in this movie, they had to die, and I don't recall if there was actually a baby in that crib, but they were eating if there was a baby, they were eating the baby. They lost their child, they lost
Mhm.
their life. And vampirism, I mean, you can look at it as, there are perks to it, but it is essentially a curse. You can't,
Mhm.
can't be out in the sunlight. You can't live your life. You are just a walking dead. And
Mhm.
so it's like it almost makes me think like if they were to act, if they actually had the capacity to think, because there was like this mind control, this they all had like a symbiotic relationship after they returned.
Mhm.
Like it was
Yeah.
almost like they were one hive mind. But if they were able to think for themselves, it's like would they have thought that, looking back, was it worth it? Was it should we have just put our prejudices aside and actually listened to these indigenous people who are saying, hey, this white man is actually really dangerous. But unfortunately, it just seems like white people in general they are willing to protect white supremacy, even if that is the danger.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That comes up brings me to a point where I think both of you have got me thinking about, when the film first came out, we saw in kind of the audio erotica space a lot of, takes and interpretations, if you will, about, what certain tropes and scenes meant. And I think Doc and Summer just said, like, it's one of those things where, do you think a general audience really understood many of those nuances, like not letting someone you don't know into your home when you are at a vulnerable state, particularly being black in the 1930s? Even getting sold that juke, we know what happens at the end. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but like,
Hmm.
do you think there is a fundamental misunderstanding or like a whitewashing, if you will, of this type of history and how people see it when it's replayed in a film like this? I guess my question is, do you think that there are people who understand the plight of black people and minorities when they see it in a historical drama like this? And do you think it's romanticized for them? Or they romanticize it themselves to be okay with the angst it causes?
Hmm.
Or do you just think they don't even want to acknowledge it and they just see, oh, it's a Michael B. Jordan movie?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. They look at it as entertainment. I think if people
Mm-hmm.
are willing, if they have a if they're willing to sit down and look into history, uh and they have good reading comprehension skills, you know, and things like that, then I think that they can look at this movie and understand it for what it actually is. But I definitely, because when I went to go see it, I was maybe one of, I think, three black people in the theater. It was all white people, but I live in a predominantly white city, so can't be helped. But I people were just like, there were certain scenes that were just kind of like gut wrenching, and they were just kind of hard for me to sit there and watch. But everybody, like all the white people, were just like entertained, and so I don't think that they have the same connection to stories like this as black people do. Um, because to them they're far removed from it. To them it's
Mhm.
just history. To them this is Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler making this vampire film. Because that was whenever I see reviews from white people on TikTok or wherever people post the reviews, they were talking about it as the perspective from the perspective of, oh, this is a vampire film, which it is. But I feel like it also has so many other layers to it.
It reminds me of when Get Out first came out.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There was also that same like dissonance with white people not understanding like this movie is holding a mirror up to you guys, and either you guys can't acknowledge that, or you don't want to.
Hmm.
And that was set
Yeah.
in modern times and people still didn't get it.
Hmm.
Right.
Or I think acknowledge that, this was directed by a black man married to a white woman, as far as Get Out
Yep.
goes.
Mm.
So it's almost probably, it's definitely fiction, but it's probably a little autobiographical based on maybe his experiences in the past.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and I think if anyone has dated outside their race knows, it can get a little sticky depending on
Hmm.
who
Yeah.
that person's folks are. But it is a dissonance, I think, that they don't even attempt to acknowledge that, some of my people might act this way. I might not act this way,
Yeah.
but it's some people in my world might treat black people and other people of color or people of other races, like they're less than, even in
Hmm.
queer social situations.
Hmm.
I think it's one of those things where, we talk about race a lot, but there's a reason for it because it's relevant. Um,
It
and
permeates literally everything in our society.
yeah,
There's nothing that can't be tied back to some racist practice from the Jim Crow era or even farther back to slavery. Like there's nothing that doesn't, when you literally sit down and look at it, there's nothing that can't be tied back to something. These systems didn't just pop up out of nowhere. They had hundreds and hundreds of years to to lay a foundation and to have our society as we know it be built upon it.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a yes and answer to your question because
okay,
two things happened when this movie came out. Well, a couple things, but two major things happened, especially in the bookish slash audio erotica community. One thing was people immediately wanted to read vampire books and uh, make vampire audios. With that, people were recommending books made by white people with white vampires
Oh, speak on it.
or audios made by white people with white vampires. So the focus for quite a few of those people wasn't the blackness of the film, it was just the vampire part. And then the second thing that happened was people started to pick apart the history and say, well, the Asian people weren't in the Delta at this time, and
they
where were the
absolutely were. Yeah.
they absolutely were because there's plenty of documentaries that show that they were there. And it, the whole history of the Chinese Exclusion Act after um, the whole railroad manufacturing thing, and then they were like, Asian people can't marry, and then they were like, just send them all back home. This wave that came after the Civil War is that family that's from the Delta, which is why their daughter's Lisa's accent was so thick.
Yep.
Lisa was country as I don't know what, because
Yep.
Lisa was born and raised there, because her
Yep.
mama and daddy was from there, and their parents were from there. That's why that family was so ingrained into that community. So in that, people were like, "Gimme, gimme, gimme." I just see the sinful parts of it. I see the lust and the sex and all of this extra, but they didn't see the full story of like these people are here trying to make it. The
Mhm.
twins came home to do something for their community. Bo and Lisa and Grace were just trying to be grocers in town and then figure out what was next. Sammy wanted his blues. Annie wanted her man. Mary wanted her man. But what you got was these screen grabs of Mary in the spit scene, or you got um, Sammy in the back room with Perlene, and it made it more about the vampires and the sex than it did the history. So when people were asking for these book recommendations, they once again whitewashed the books, and then people were like, no, there are other books out here that have black vampires at the center. So show us those. And then a particular app decided they would like to skip over the black vampire stories or even black historical stories on their app in favor of the Irishman on their app instead of centering the black stories, which could have been very beneficial to them since they had already been called out multiple times for mixing up a
Hmm.
particular black artist on their app with two other black artists on their app who already made an audio that was similar to the movie, but instead they went with the Irish guy. There was a
Yeah.
lot that was happening, and I was just like, look, y'all are missing the entire point. And I'm not going to sit here and argue with you because you're going to continue to miss the point because all you saw was the gluttony and the sin of it all, and that's what was the downfall of it. And you didn't see the history of it. You removed yourself from it so very delicately that you put yourself all the way on the outside of the club or in the rafters of the club watching it all happen as if it was just some like little show for you. Whereas plenty of black people that saw the movie had those same visceral reactions to um, watching Lisa walk across the street to literally go to the white side of the street to go get her mom from the other store. Watching Mary walk up to them at the train station saying, "Is that? Does she look like a white woman? Are you sure she's a white woman? Don't look her directly in the eye," because they knew exactly what that would mean if they looked directly at her.
Yep.
So there's
Mm-hmm.
those little small things that people missed because they wanted to focus on the sexy part of it, which was great. I mean, I'm not telling you not to do that, but there's other things happening all at once. And when you ignore the history of it, you're literally whitewashing the film, and you may as well just go watch. What's that movie called? The Quentin Tarantino one? I don't remember what it's called.
The
I
one
never
with
watched.
George Clooney with and Selma Hayek.
Yeah, I
From
never
Dusk Till
watched it,
Dawn.
so it's
From Dusk Till Dawn, yeah.
yeah. May as well go watch that one. If that's what you wanted, you may as well have gone and watch that one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's no shade to Robert Rodriguez and the rest of them that made that movie, but if you just wanted titillation, go watch it. But if you wanted a story with depth and titillation, pay attention when you watch this movie.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think um, people don't, white people specifically, they don't like to be uncomfortable. Um, they don't like to be confronted with things that forces them to actually take a look at themselves. Um, and I think there was a lot of scenes in this movie that, if they were actually pay attention, would have been successful in doing that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because we have this whole saying in the black community, like, oh, like, or she, there are there invited to the cookout. Because as black people, we know as a community that we tend to be very accepting of people. You do a little dance, you sing a little song, you hit a little note, and you step on beat. We cheer you on. That's just how we are as a people. But even we know that there are dangers to that, and we can't just let everybody in our space, because
Mhm.
you know not everybody has good intentions. And especially during that time where, having a white person come across your all black establishment, where you're just having fun, and that could literally mean death. Like, even if Remick wasn't a vampire, that could have
Mhm.
meant, him bringing the KKK, and having a situation where they were just slaughtered in that juke joint at night while they're partying. So any number of things could have happened. And so it's just, I think about how, to translating that today, it's like when black people say we want, spaces where we can exist, and be free, and just be around each other. And then you see a white person say, well, if white people were to do that, it'd be a problem. And it's like, well, look what happens when that does happen. When white people
Mhm.
do create spaces, they do it not so that because they want to create a safe space for themselves, but they do it because they want to make sure that other communities are threatened, that other communities, and they protect those spaces using force.
Mhm.
Yep.
And we've seen that all throughout history. When black towns like in Tulsa, or in the town where the Central Park was built over, or the town that is underneath Lake Lanier. We see what
Oh
happens
yeah.
when black people try to have their own spaces, and white people can't take that, and they feel like they should, if they can't benefit from it somehow, they have to destroy it.
Yeah. And I think that scene after Sammy sings, I Lied to You, where Remick and that couple are at the door. First, that scene was hilarious, by the way, because them singing that song and moving their little fiddles and banjos in unison, I was cracking up. Because I was like, y'all are really trying. You are trying so hard. But the answer is still no.
Mhm.
You can walk on
Right.
up the street. I'm pretty sure there's a white spot you can go into because you know as well as I do, if I let you in here, there's going to be a problem.
Mhm.
Somebody's gonna cause a problem. Like I'm gonna bump your shoe. Somebody's gonna
Yep.
drop a piece of fish. You're gonna flip out, and the next thing you know, it turns into something that it even never was,
Mhm.
and we're all just gone. And for them to turn and look at Mary and like, well, she's in there. Mary's a different story.
Yep.
Mary's a completely different story. We know her. She's a different story. Don't even look at her. Don't talk to her. Just go on up the street. But Remick going, well, we're gonna walk away real slow just in case you change your mind, and then sit out front like I'm gonna just wait because y'all gonna have to leave at some point.
Yep.
Like you're trying to wait people out in this space, and you're just like, look, I'm not opening the door. It's not happening. Yes, we would like for you to see us, and we would like for you not to want to harm us. But if I let you in this space, you will undoubtedly do harm, whether intentional or not.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've walked in with this sense of entitlement, like I should be in here just because I can be, not
Right.
because Mary's in there, but I should be in there too. You let everybody else is in here having a good time. I want to have a good time too. You can have a good time on your own with other people that look like you or look like other people, but you do not have to force your way into spaces that are supposed to be safe for other people. You should ask yourself, why is it that I feel I need to be in that person's safe space? Why do they feel like they need a safe space away from someone that looks like me before you decide or demand that you be let inside?
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better than that. And I think it always goes, ooh, a bird. It always goes back to it always, to me, for me, it always goes back to, my greatest problem today is, that you know, that where I have a big problem with allyship. I've talked about this a lot here, and that it's just the phoniness of it. And I think that's kind of that same gist as we're gonna wait y'all out because y'all got to come out sometime. A lot of fake allies do that too. Like, well, you're gonna need me at some point. I'm gonna need to use you in that
Mm-hmm.
same
Mm-hmm.
way. I think that's more of what we see in our creative communities now, is that people are unfortunately going to see others who are marginalized or trying to kick the door down to make space for themselves in places. I'm like, we have. And
Mm-hmm.
be so negative about it they want to try and harm it from the inside out,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
which is very reflective of that scenario there. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about Smoke and Annie for a second.
Okay, dokie.
Oh, yes.
I mean, one of y'all can kick it off. I just want to talk about Smoke and Annie and their
Oh.
relationship.
I feel like Haley Steinfeld played that role really well.
Mm-hmm.
I she could get knocked for trying to play someone who is passing, but I think she did it with a lot of dignity.
Mm-hmm.
I think she really studied and understood the weight of playing a character like that. And I also think that a lot of white people in the audience didn't realize she was a woman that is passing as white, and
Mhm.
she's black. I don't even think they realized that when she opened her mouth, because that was very obvious. But
Mhm.
I do think that she played it really well. So I think their dynamics, the chemistry was very very good. You could tell that she was hurt,
Mhm.
and that they definitely had a chemistry, and that they had been intimate, and that they still felt for each other. Um, no, I
Wait. Oh,
wait.
doc,
What?
that. Oh, I thought Doc Debs asked about Smoking Annie. That was,
Oh, you're talking about Mary. My bad. Yeah, I just completely went off tangent. Yeah, go ahead. Ignore me.
You're fine. No, I mean, if you want to talk about Mary and Stack first, that's cool. But because the thing is with Mary and Stack, like watching them interact with each other at the train station, he was really like, if you don't get your sort of white ass on this train and get away from me and be safe. And she's just the whole time like, no, I want to be with you. And he's like, safety is where you should be
mm-hmm,
and not over here because you're not going to get any deeper into your blackness because people will see you on the outside as white. But the moment they see you with us, they start to ask questions. You came back to town to bury your mama without your husband because you know she looks more visibly black than you. So even when she was in the juking, he was like, "What do you want me to say?" And she was like, I didn't want to be white. I wanted to be with you," which meant she wanted to embrace herself. She wanted to embrace her blackness and be with the people that her mama raised her around. And she's just like, "You're not getting rid of me. So I'm gonna need you to stop trying because it's I'm gonna be with you and you're gonna be with me, but we're gonna be together in the end." That's how she was rolling through this whole movie. Like, you can say whatever you want to say, but I'm gonna still be right here in the morning. So, would you like your eggs scrambled or fried?
Yep.
That's what she was giving the whole time, and I was like, you know what? Get your man, girl. It's not gonna
she
work.
she kind of annoyed me though.
Yeah.
Um, I will say, and the only reason why, like, I understand, that she wanted to be, with Stack, and she wanted to be around, people that represented a part of who she is and who her mother was. But at the same time, it's almost as if she didn't have any appreciation for the danger of her
Mhm.
walking up to Stack and and being as that close to him and speaking to him that way, and the amount of danger she was putting him
Yep.
in that one scene at the train station. I was just like, girl, you know better. Why are you why are you doing this? You could have found caught up with him at some other place,
Mhm.
um, where they would be
'Cause-
more safe to talk. But it
yeah,
just, I don't know.
yeah, because it's not like she didn't hear him announce the juke while she was standing there, because she turned around and looked
Hmm.
and heard what they were saying, which is why he said to Sammy, like, don't look directly at her. Just like tell me, does she you sure she's white or she looks white? And he
Hmm.
was just standing there like, well, I don't know. Like, what? I've never seen this person before, but she's staring at you. So, and even when they were standing there talking, he wasn't making eye contact with her. He was looking elsewhere so he wouldn't look directly
Hmm.
at her. And I'm like, I get that you want to be with him so badly and you want to be in his atmosphere, but you know that you're putting him in danger just as much as you're putting yourself in danger because together, if y'all are caught, you more than anything can be like, you can distance yourself from the whole thing and decide to take a route that would be unfortunate for you to deny who you are.
Right.
But for him, that's not just jail, that's death.
That is death,
Mhm.
and it's
So,
very interesting to me. Well, not interesting is probably not the right word, but I just kept thinking, like, I know Emmett Till's murder happened probably about 9 years after the year that Sinners was set in. But
mhm,
this still to just to think about how the times hadn't changed in that time frame.
mhm,
Like, it was still just as dangerous to look a white woman
Yeah.
in the eye
Yeah,
then as
lynching
it
was a
was nine
very
years later.
prevalent. Yeah, lynching was still very prevalent.
And uh, it's
Yeah.
just, you just think about what people in that time period had to go through. Just the smallest interaction could mean that, the end of your life. And so, like, yeah, Mary knew she had to have known that. And so I was a
Hmm.
little, that's why I was annoyed with her.
Yeah, I got the names confused. My bad. I was talking about the same person. But yeah, that's a good point.
Well, yeah, but then that shows you also the difference between the brothers and how they interacted with the women in their lives. Because with Smoke and Annie, it was very gentle. It wasn't like butting heads, aggressive. It was more like, in order for me to process what happened between us and the loss of our child, I can't be in this space with you. So when you catch up with, after the brothers separate from each other to go do what they need to do in town, and then go get Delta Slim and everybody else, you see Smoke and Annie together, and it's just like a whole, like the music changes. The whole thing is like a world away from the the chaos that is Stack and Mary into this calmness that is Annie and Smoke.
Mhm.
And I like that just juxtaposition so much between the two of them.
Now that you say that, that has me thinking about like the colors, how
Hmm.
like Zach always wore red. So it seems like he had more of like a passionate, like fiery vibe to him, and that kind of bled into his relationship with Mary. But the calmness, you think of water, you think of like the color blue, and how
Hmm.
that kind of just represented who Smoke was as a person, but also like his relationship with Annie. That, yeah, what you just said just made me think of that. But
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice
there's just so
thought.
many things.
It felt
There's
more
just so
like
many
Smoke and
things.
Annie's relationship was like you could see that they both viewed each other as equals,
Hmm.
whereas
Yeah.
Stack and Mary, it was like you said, like a sort of a power imbalance.
Yeah. I think if Mary had it her way, they would have been Bonnie and Clyde. And technically, they kind of were
Yeah.
like
I think that's what
pulling
she
each
wanted.
other. Yeah, pulling each other into this thing that, like, she did not have to go outside to go talk to them to go get that money. She didn't.
Yeah.
But
Mm-mm.
she was like, just let me help you. Let me help you go get this money. I'm like, this is the girl that's in the bank robbery with you that's supposed to stay in the car, but didn't stay in the car. She got out and she came inside, and next thing you know, FBI see everybody's outside because she was supposed to stay where she was at. But no, she had to bring her narrative into that place, mess everything up for everybody, and then be like, I can fix it. I can fix it. No, go sit down. You did not have to go outside.
You know what? I have a question for y'all. Um, and I don't care. I'll just say I don't care about spoilers because at this point, y'all should have seen it.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Who cares? Yeah, people have seen it by now. Yeah.
so at the end, when Stack and Annie go to visit Sammy, like grown adult Sammy, um, Annie was just very quiet. And I
Hmm.
don't know if it's maybe if there was like cut scenes or, and some people said like she was just giving Stack an opportunity to speak with his cousin, who he was able to tell that Sammy was going to die soon. So
Hmm.
she was just giving him that opportunity to talk to him. But all throughout the movie, at least, and people can change over time, but she just seemed like the type of person who would always have something to say. So I was just kind
Hmm.
of struck by how quiet she was at the end, and I was like, what do y'all think of that about that?
I never thought about that. That's a really good
Yeah,
point. It now that I'm thinking about it, kind of comes across as reflective, maybe.
Hmm.
maybe. I think. Oh, I never thought about that part before.
Now I'm gonna have to
Because
watch it again. Thanks, Summer.
because when I saw that when I initially saw that scene, I thought it was more like I'm gonna give him his space to talk to his cousin, and I'm just gonna like mind my business. But then they've been running together as vampires since 1932, and it's now 1992, and you're like,
Mhm.
y'all still in this, you know, real almost forced relationship because you literally have no one else that's like you now, or at
Right.
least it
Hmm.
appears that they only have each other. I don't know if they had like other people. Maybe they turned some people along the way. Maybe other things shaped out for them that we just didn't see. But it's very much everyone else is gone, and I kept this promise to my brother to leave you alone. So when we get to this space, it's like Sammy's older. He's old. He's beyond the years that they are since they died in 1932. So he's technically older than them. But it's like this. I assumed she was just like giving him his space to talk to his cousin. And maybe in those years between that night and where they meet him again, I would hope that they grew as people and that Mary found a way to calm herself down, and Stack
Mhm.
found a way to calm himself down to be in more of like an Annie and Smoke type relationship.
Yeah, I
I
don't.
would hope.
Yeah, yeah, I would. Yeah, I would hope. But I just was like, I had one line. I don't know. I just thought it was just interesting, and I just wondered if it was just like, because I was like, oh, maybe this was just, it just is the way the movie was cut, and I don't know. But
Mm.
yeah, I just thought that that was interesting.
No, I'm definitely gonna have to watch it again now. You always make me think. Why do you always make me think? Sometimes I'm
Thinking is
tired.
good.
But sometimes I'm tired. I think all the time. I have an anxiety disorder. I think all the time. But this is a good thought, honestly. No, I'm really gonna have to watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch that Chief of War with Jason Momoa tonight. I'm gonna rewatch that.
So, I saw something the other day. It was a meme of Cornbread's wife, and
Not cornbread.
it was like, it was like Cornbread's wife probably thinking he ran off with the money last night, and
Oh
Oh.
man, that's so
I was like,
sad. That's
oh
not funny.
man.
Yo,
That's funny.
yo, yo, that's great.
I love cornbread.
I did too.
I love that guy, the actor Omar Miller. He's just adorable and cute and everything.
Yeah, he is adorable.
Yeah.
He's good in everything.
And cornbread is just a good name. That's a good nickname. Like,
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah. If you're gonna be a big black dude in the 30s, you gonna eat your cornbread.
I, I quote that often. I love this good movie.
Yeah.
Also, there was some there was really a lot of talented folks in this movie too. Also, shout
Hmm.
out to
There
Uncle
were.
Delroy Lindo. He's made like
Oh
a
yes,
Yes.
million movies, but
The fact that he
he's
that
good
doesn't
in
have an
that
everything.
British
Oscar yet is very
that British
offensive.
that undercover British man.
Yo,
Hmm.
he walked
He
so
was so
Idris Elba can run. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
exactly, but he was so good as Delta Slim. Like he
He
played
was.
a drunk that sobered up real quick. But
Hmm.
that scene where they're eating the garlic and they thought he was like turning or something. He was like, "No, no, I'm good. I'm just still drunk." And then he went like, with his hand, like, like, yeah, I did that. I was like, you just
Right when it needed comic relief, he was there. So I mean,
Hmm.
exactly.
shout out to Delroy Lindo.
Especially when Sammy went to the door and he was like, Snow told me to go get Stack. And he's like, oh, he in there. And then he opened the door and he saw Mary and Stack together. And he was like, oh, he busy, huh? So you didn't have to do that to him. You did not have to send him in there. You knew what was
He told
happening in
him to
that
go
room.
in there too.
It was a
He's like, oh, he's
setup.
busy, huh?
World
Like,
class.
just like an uncle.
Saw something, didn't you, boy? Bless. What
I
other
feel
little
like he needs an
nuances?
award for
He needs
that
something.
scene alone where he in the his monologue in the car.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
A primetime Emmy, something.
Mm.
Mm.
Somebody need to put everybody up for an award, honestly, because even the actors that played Grace and Bo, you can say a lot of things about Grace. You can, and you only be people on both one side or the other, whether or not she was wrong or right. But Grace and Bo really were the people that like you deal with the hand that you're dealt.
Yep.
Hmm.
You help the people you like. You get the money when you get the money. Because Grace was like, I ain't doing this for no less than 15.
I
Grace was about
mean,
her money. Bo was like, look,
Hmm.
it's gonna be you got the booze, you got the music, we come in the party. Okay, cool. Bo was like, I'm hanging out with my friends tonight. Grace is like, we gonna hang out with our friends, but we gonna get this money at the same time.
yeah, and I think that speaks to the economic turmoil of that era. I mean,
Hmm.
in that economy, post like in the Great Depression, just in the middle of it.
Hmm.
I think you really got to prioritize, especially if you're a small business owner
Hmm.
Yep.
and you don't look
Hmm.
like the larger populace. You got to be about your money, and you got it.
Yep.
But you could also tell that they were very well known, popular, good business people in that area of the Delta, and that they were going to get their money no matter what. So I kind of respect her hustle on that.
Yeah, and I honestly I think there's a scene in the grocery store where uh they're talking to Bo, and Bo's like, what was it like up in Chicago? Because I guarantee you, if he could, Bo would have convinced Grace to move to Chicago because he wanted the action. He wanted to be around everything. So
Yep.
if he could have convinced her to go to Chicago, if they were still up there, he would have made a case for him to go. Because it was like, all right, yeah, this grocery store thing is cool or whatever, but there's some bigger stuff happening north, and we can make
Mm.
more money up. If he could have convinced her that there was more money to be made in the north, and they could still hold on to like their grocery franchise or whatever, Grace would have gone.
But I also think that speaks to something you mentioned. Like she grew up there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When
Hmm.
your roots are planted, regardless of the circumstances, sometimes you don't want to leave.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even in that era, Chicago was a wild place back then as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's also that kind of comfortability of, regardless, even if you are living in the South, as
Hmm.
a small business owner, as a Chinese person, they were going to do whatever it took to know they were going to have a sustainable livelihood in that economy. The best place to do it probably was where they're from, because people knew them
Hmm.
Yeah.
already. It's really
Yep.
hard to pick up shop and reestablish too. Um,
Exactly.
so that I
And
think
they get
that's
all that
something to think
trust as
about.
well.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that might have been something in the back of his mind too. But of course, if there was an opportunity, if opportunity knocks, you should open the door.
Yep.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. And then it's like the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Hmm.
Because even when Sammy, he wanted to see what was up north. He wanted to, and he was telling, I think he was talking to Stack about this, and Stack was saying like, it's just, the same things is going on up there. It's just they have skyscrapers. Like
Yeah.
it's no different.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's why I say this is just like it's also a great migration story because I think about my family. My family was from South Carolina. Well, part of my family was, and they all like every single one of them. I don't think I have any relatives. I could, and somebody living down there, but as far as I know, everybody left and they came up north.
Hmm.
And yes, there's still racism up here and things like that, but the things that they were leaving behind, it made the challenges that they faced up north, it paled in comparison. And so I understand sometimes, like, yeah, if you have roots somewhere, you don't want to leave, but sometimes, depending on what you want out of your life, that might not be just
Oh,
the option
absolutely.
to stay might not
Yeah.
be, the right one for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And particularly, well, I'm sure from your ancestors is that, the job stability. Also living
Yeah.
in a place where they, actively seeded from the union because of your place in their um procurement of slavery.
Hmm.
I mean, you got to get the hell on.
Yeah.
And that's why
And
it was such a renaissance why it was named a migration, because so many of our ancestors did exactly that, to be proud members of this country, to work their ass off, to build something, because
yeah,
this was their home
and
now.
yeah, and even for like my own family, like moving from South Carolina up north and North Carolina, so like people they stopped in like Baltimore and Philly and New York. Like some went further up than others, but it was like the particular work because in the movie they're sharecroppers, they're picking cotton. Um, for my family, I think my great grandmother told me it was like tobacco and some like other things that they actively picked, and my grandmother said cotton as well. And she said after a while, like the work was just gone. So you either stay and figure out what work looks like now, or you go north to industrialization. And that's what they did. They came for the factory work because that was where the money was. So you went to these bigger cities and you quote unquote left behind that former life, but you knew that you weren't the only one that were coming up here. Because the
Hmm.
white people lost their
Exactly.
jobs too. They didn't have much of anything else either. So they came up there, but they didn't. The black people weren't the foremen or the owners of these factories. The same people that were once their sharecropper overlords, whatever you want to call them, are now their foremen in these places and the owners of these factories, and they've been able to again make money off of you. So
Hmm.
Yep.
it's like essentially the north and the south is just a horse of a different color
Yeah, it's
from
a
the same
vicious
Hmm.
stallion,
cycle.
Yep.
different color.
You
Mm-hmm.
just you got to pick your
And
poison. You gotta.
yeah, you pick the overt versus the covert. You pick in your face or you know polite, slightly passive, but stay over there.
And I think
So
of
and that's what I feel like was playing out when they were talking to each other specifically about Chicago, especially when Annie was like, "What y'all do up there in Chicago that made y'all come back here?" Like
right.
you clearly did something that you were not supposed to do.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, everyone else is asking you like it must have been exciting and amazing and so different from here. And she was like, "No, y'all did something y'all wasn't supposed to do, and
In
y'all
them
came back
zoot
here."
suits. In them zoot suits.
She clocked it from the beginning. She's like, "I know you and him."
But I also, one thing I really enjoyed about seeing the twins and the grocers is that it shows that people of different races will always join together on some partnership and like make something better, and
Hmm.
in the face of the opposition.
Yep.
Like, yeah, they got their little juke, but they still had to overcome odds to get it filled with people, to get food there, to make sure they had booze and music and things that people would want to come to a juke to see. So, but they really rallied the community because the community
Hmm.
loves Smoke and Stack. So the community rallied around them because the boys are back home.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
it's a celebration, but it's also another way to revitalize the area because jukes are moneymakers. They can
Hmm.
be troublesome, but they're also a rallying point in a lot of communities where you see your people and y'all are, decompressing after a long week in them fields, and it shows the power of community and how people can really work together to build something too, regardless of if vampires come and fuck it up or not.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But Cornbread didn't have to call Annie's grease dirty. He ain't have to do that.
You didn't have to. That was just fighting words.
Yeah, he did that on purpose. He did that on purpose.
Yep.
I would have dragged him, but then that's what he wanted. So, but I think I probably would have died because,
I would have put cornbread in that grease. That's real.
Yeah.
yeah, he knew what he was doing. Talking about we gotta be kind to one another. And you sitting there calling her grief dirty. Like,
Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. Is there any other little notes or bits and bobbles we want to talk about?
yes, that
Yeah,
that music, the music scene
the
where
soundtrack
Yeah.
is excellent, by the
Mm-hmm.
way.
where it was just like you had the past and the present all together, and how like Sammy's music was kind of just bringing all the ancestors and people in the future together in that one moment. That was just beautifully done.
Hmm.
Like I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in a movie.
Yeah, Doc Dubs and I have been geeking out over the soundtrack since the movie came out. It's wonderful. I suggest getting it on vinyl.
Yes. Speaking of which, I got a tractor delivery on mine, but because it was like it doesn't ship till like August something, and I keep
Yeah.
forgetting that I actually ordered it, so I'm trying not to like double order it. So
Well, you know the girl math is if you order something in February and you get it in August, it's free.
I
That's
like
girl
that
math.
math. That
Yeah, it's
that
girl
makes
math.
sense.
It's like, oh, I bought myself a gift,
Look, that's why I pre-ordered all of these books in January, and
which
almost
is
every month I got like 2 books, and I'm like,
yeah.
look at that, free
Look
book.
at God. You know what I'm saying? I did that when the economy was better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't.
Look, I had tons of gift cards from Christmas, and I was like, I'm gonna use these wisely, because I ain't spending no money on books.
But if I do spend money on books, I know one thing that the four of us are all about is like we want to get directly from the distributor, especially if they're indie and black.
Mm-hmm.
Getting things directly from the distributor, you get like cool little swag. Like one of the
Yeah.
last books I pre-ordered and I got really nice art, custom art with it. The author signed the book, and it's got a
Mm-hmm.
really good quality little bookmark. I'm gonna use for other stuff. So buy direct. You know what I'm saying? Barnes and Noble ain't got everything.
Exactly.
Period.
But yeah, the music was just it. The music, the script, all of it made the movie. But for some reason, when you, if I don't know if you've experienced it differently, watching it in the theater and then watching it at home, but the music just kind of like hits you right in your soul. Whether it was him
Mhm.
in the car playing that first tune, and then him actually being in the Jeep playing for the first time in front of other people, and then the roof coming off, and like the past and the present and the future, and the girls twerking in the
Yeah, that's
kitchen,
I'm saying.
which
That's what that scene was just. It was so good.
it was perfect. And then pulling in
It was,
everybody's cultures. Like they pulled in the Chinese dancers and the masked dancers, and then they pulled in like African ancestry into it, and it was just like so much that they
yeah.
Ryan Coogler's mind is just
I
fantastic.
He's a genius. Like I
You
Yeah.
can tell that he is like a student of his craft and that like he loves what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has such a vivid imagination. I think that's what storytelling in movies is missing a lot today.
Hmm.
Because we're getting so many remakes, we're getting so
Yeah.
many, reboots, and it's like actually sit down. Like you know, I like a good remake from time to time. I'm not gonna lie,
Hmm.
but as a writer, as somebody who loves coming up with stories, like there's just so much power in coming up with your own worlds and your own characters and seeing where those characters go and allowing your mind to just tapping into that part of your creativity. Not everything has to be an existing property. Like you can
Yeah.
actually sit
Yeah.
down and create.
One thing I really
Yeah.
enjoyed about Ryan Coogler's kind of media storm around this movie is how authentically he described and talked about his creative process, because that's a really good point. And you have to think about his directorial debut was Fruitville Station that
Who
came out
built
in
station?
Hmm.
2013.
I think he was 24, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was very young
Yeah.
when it came out. So I think it's also a really good reflection of between 2013 and now all the work he's done. This is a really great movie. It's not even his masterpiece yet, probably.
Hmm. I
So
think he's got so much more left in his
yeah,
mind to create,
yeah,
which is why I'm
Hmm.
actually glad that he said this is a standalone. Like, there's no sequel, there's no prequel.
Yeah, same.
This is a
Hmm.
story of its own because he's been in these film sagas where it's just like this sequel and that. Like, he's making these big, and I'm glad he's getting this opportunity. That he has these opportunities to make these big, grandiose superhero films, but I understand why he's like, I wanted to make a film that my uncle who's from the Delta would enjoy. I wanted to make a film that's on its own an individual story and not something that can be made over again and again and again.
Yeah. 'Cause I
Hmm.
feel like that's what's destroying the film industry is just this greed, like this need to constantly milk an idea until you can't milk it anymore. And
Hmm.
sometimes you have to know when the story is finished. And yes, there are, this movie took place over the course of one day, and there's so much about these characters because they are so rich, that we want to know. But I think us, the viewer, we can fill in those gaps. People can
Mhm.
write fan fiction. We don't always have to, force the writers and the directors and everybody involved to come up with other stories to give to us. Like, we can do that.
Mhm.
We can do that for ourselves. But
Yeah.
sometimes I think that, like, stories have natural ends, and we should respect that.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, and he's had some hits. I mean, it's not like he hasn't
Yeah.
directed things. I mean, Creed was an original kind of spin-off to
Mhm.
that franchise, but he did direct probably two of the biggest Marvel Cinematic Universe movies in Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. So
Hmm.
he's in that kind of pop culture bag, but when he does really get to do something unique like Sinners, I think it really showcases black creativity in a way that people should appreciate more and should be able to access more. And they shouldn't be
Mhm.
afraid to want to watch it and be confronted with something that's going to make them think.
Mhm.
That's why I'm a fan of
Hmm.
this one. And he has little elements of that in a lot of his work. But
Yeah.
I think it's building on something that's going to be really good. And I also think that Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan are going to be like this generation's Martin Scorsese and like Leo or something.
Yeah.
Because they've been in a lot of shit. They've done a lot of shit together.
Yeah. I think they understand each other's creativity the
Hmm.
best. Not to say
Desire
that
to
like
make
they,
something
yeah.
unique. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that like they can't work with other people, but I think that the two of them together just create magic. Like they and to an extent, I think there was like a point where after the movie had come out, some people were like, Chadwick would be so proud of the two of them. And then I was like, he would. Like, this is like his duo, these are his guys, and they would be so insanely he would be so insanely happy that they've created such an amazing piece of work, and to the point where you get Delroy Lindo, who also worked with Chadwick Boseman in the Five Bloods, where you're like, all of his worlds are colliding, all of his people are being seen and having this amazing run, and you can only say that like that's his spirit flowing through them also to keep them moving
Hmm.
forward to do all of these amazing things and not be like caught up, because it seems like it could be very very easy to get caught up in the hype of what you've created,
Oh yeah.
because he could have been
Hmm.
like, yo, this was like the most amazing thing I've ever created, let's make six more and try to recapture the magic from the first one. But no, you can just let the first one stand. You can let it be what it
Mm-hmm.
is and move on to make something bigger and then bigger and then bigger. And
Yeah.
I like that aspect of it, especially when I saw that after the movie came out, and they were like, Chadwick would be very proud of them.
I miss
All
Chadwick
all of
too.
those edits people were making, using that clip from the end where Stack was like, it's the last time I saw my brother, the last time I saw the sun, and they were putting the scene from Black Panther with I don't know if y'all seen those edits, and they just put, Chadwick and Michael B. Jordan in it, and they had that clip play before it, and I'm just like, why did y'all have to make these edits? Y'all are gonna make me cry. Don't do that.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
only lose so much moisture. Like, and I miss Chadwick. I miss Chadwick both because he was such an immense talent and just such a
He
presence
really
that,
was.
you
Mhm.
know. And you can tell he really touched so many people, but especially that little crew.
Yeah.
And knowing the background between him and Michael B. Jordan, where they would like when they were coming up, they would always be like neck and neck with roles.
Mhm.
Um, I think it shows a very special how people in similar fields grow together and how they
Hmm.
finally can realize their greatness together. And I think that's what Michael B. Jordan and Chadwick were finally doing before he
Mhm.
passed. And that I think that's what is also hard thinking about, this immensely talented man leaving so many people behind that loved him so much.
Yeah.
You can tell
Yeah.
that his talent is flowing through them. It's really nice. very nice. Five Bloods is really good, by the way.
It is.
It's too good for Netflix, quite frankly.
There's quite a few movies that were too good for Netflix. Like, what was that movie? Who killed no, who cloned Tyrone?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is that on Netflix? That should have been in theaters.
It should have been because that movie had me cracking up from the beginning. Because the fact that I'm sorry, spoilers if you haven't seen it, but
It's so good
they
though.
found they found all them people in that basement, and they had that white man with that afro and the chicken joint. I was
Yeah.
just like, look, y'all like. But at the end, to have them find out that the Tyrone we thought was the original Tyrone is not even him.
Yeah.
He's a guy in South Central Los Angeles, still sitting on his couch, like, hey, that looked just like you. I was like, what? It was way too good for Netflix.
It
Yeah, I
really
mean, but
was.
if it's got Ryan Reynolds or The Rock in it, keep it on Netflix. We don't need that in theaters.
Yeah.
Keep that on Amazon Prime. You know what I'm saying? We don't need that shit.
Keep it no, just keep it in the $5 bin at Walmart.
You know, when John
Yeah.
Cena is out acting The Rock, there are problems in Hollywood. That's all I'm saying.
Mm.
Yeah.
But such a wonder. I give the movie 5 stars, guys. What do you think?
Oh, Infinite Stars.
And
Infinite
yeah,
stars.
yeah.
We're gonna put that at the lunch table Hall of Fame. So
Definitely.
it's definitely. Well, yeah, we gotta make that a segment. I gotta write that down. Lunch Hall of Fame. We'll come up with a better name. Well, that's a good discussion, gang.
Yeah.
So what to next? Let's talk about. We can talk about audios or books that we like that are kind of remotely interested or remotely kind of related to Sinners. If anyone has any suggestions or recommendations to read or listen to.
I'm going to be honest. I only listened to two Sinners like audios or Sinners inspired audios.
Hmm.
Um, they were okay.
They were okay.
I think some people leaned very heavy into the actual characters, like as far as like going to use the characters' names and things like that,
Hmm.
which I was like, is that allowed? But the other one was okay. Um, yeah,
I get a feeling you don't want to name names, so I'm not going to ask you to.
I don't. I mean, you'll see it pop up. You can always type in Sinners Inspired on any of those apps and or Reddit and find it. But
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
was just okay. Like I would prefer just to have the movie to watch than to listen to an audio that's inspired by it because I feel like lately I've felt like audios that are inspired by movies or music or real life events have been missing the point.
Mm,
And I think that that should just be like I'm going to make a vampire audio or a historical audio based in a particular time that's very, very, very loosely based off of some of the themes from the movie.
Hmm.
That I would listen to. But when it's like almost like full on what the movie is or your interpretation of the movie, I don't want to hear it.
mm. And
That's just me though.
can I just make a little note here?
Of course.
Just because an audio is set in the same time period as the movie, doesn't mean it is a ripoff of the movie. Because
Yeah.
I
Right.
remember when Ravenelle uh, did an audio, she did a script for one of the audios that Julius did, and there was all this commentary about saying like, "Oh, this is a ripoff of Sinners," and da da da. And I'm like, "Tell me you didn't watch the movie without telling me you didn't watch the movie,"
Exactly
because
because her neither of her audios, the first part and the second part, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Oh no,
neither
you're good.
part of her audios were, one, not in Mississippi, two, not didn't feel like a scene directly cut from the movie, and three, it was an original piece.
Mm.
And just because it had
Black
a bit
people.
of alcohol smuggling and black people in it and southern accents and a juke joint doesn't make it the same thing.
Yeah, like just because you'd never heard of a juke joint, you didn't know they existed until then, doesn't mean that Sinners created it. That
Exactly.
this is you were just finding out about this time period, and
Mhm.
music from that time period, and how people were living and surviving during that time period. That says more
Yeah,
about you than it does about people who are writing and creating great art and great audios.
exactly.
But yeah, that's my little side note.
In the group chat, the homies have talked about Interview with the Vampire, the television show on AMC.
Yes.
Is
Oh
that
yeah,
vibes?
Yes.
yes, that is a phenomenal show.
Yeah.
A
So
phenomenal.
I'd say if you want something that'll give you the vibe of Sinners, the TV show version of Interview with the Vampire with Jacob Anderson, and I'm sorry I can't remember the Lestat character's name, but it is so. I started rewatching it because I know Vampire Lestat is coming on like next year, but it's so good. And
It is
you
amazing.
kind of get the same feeling of like Lestat watching Louis as Remick watching Sammy, like wanting this person because of how this individual you've never even interacted with makes you feel. And what happens to Louis's brother pushes him towards Lestat. And then the life that they sort of kind of very messily build, and all of the drama and all of the, it's so good.
And something else that I think is similar between Interview with the Vampire, the series, and Sinners is Sinners uses the Mississippi Delta. That is a character in the story,
Hmm.
and I think that Interview with the Vampire also uses New Orleans is as much of a character as Louis and Lestat is, um,
Hmm.
and also it doesn't shy away from presenting how that how that time period was. So it doesn't sugarcoat the racism. It doesn't sugarcoat, Louis, even though he owns a brothel when we meet him in the first season. So he's a businessman. Might not be the most upstanding businessman, but he does, he has a
Hmm.
business. He does pretty well for himself. But even then, he still, walks through life as a black man, and there are, that colors um, how he is treated.
Hmm.
And so I think if you want a show that is going to be titillating and have that vampire element, but also it's grounded in history. I think and yeah, Interview with the Vampire is a good show to watch. And the first episode of the first season is probably one of the best pilots I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
life. It's just that episode alone, it sets up the show so well.
Doc, the actor that plays Lestat is Sam Reed. Sam
Thank
Reed.
you.
He's cute. Well, both leads are cute. I mean, I need to get into this, but yeah, I need to get into this. That's a good rec from the crew.
Yes,
Yeah,
but fair warning because I think it's only 8 episodes, but I think it's like episode 4 or 5. So fair warning on the between those 2 episodes because there's a very intense fight between Louis and Lestat that is
yes,
just very like, it's just it's domestic violence is the only way I can put it. So
yeah.
if that
Trigger
is
warning:
something that,
domestic violence. Okay, good.
yeah, if that is something that you are not comfortable with watching on screen, that is an episode that you can. I feel like it's one that you can definitely skip and
Mm.
still understand what happens afterwards.
Hmm. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a very hard scene. It's to the point where I wanted to fight with that.
Oh yes.
Like,
Yeah,
So
put me in. Put
I
me
think
on
in.
that
Anything
that
I've
episode,
watched
like,
this in is I've wanted to fight Lestat. So
oh yeah, like the episode after that, or the one or the two episodes after that, when that casket came flying out of the window, I said, yeah, you're right. Throw all his junk out.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, um, yeah. So just fair warning on that particular episode. Once you get to that point, you'll know what's coming to you, like what's coming. But if you want to skip it, it's a fair episode to skip.
and if you're looking for
Yeah,
music
I've
Rex,
seen
we've got
still
a
hard to watch.
yeah. If you're looking for music Rex, we're gonna have a playlist, of course, with this paired with this episode, so you guys will be able to jam later.
Yes.
I can't think of any books. I've looked at the there's been several lists made uh with book recommendations, and there was only one from those lists that I've read. It's called Jackal by Aaron E. Adams. I did not like
Hmm.
that book, and I never posted a review because if a book is written by a black author and I didn't like it, 9 times out of 10 I won't write a review about it because I know how hard it is for black authors in general. But the character, if anybody ever decides to read that, the character, in my opinion, had a lot of internalized anti-blackness, and
Mm.
she never really addressed that. Which a lot of people have internalized anti-blackness to kind of grapple with, but at least in the story, I would have liked her to have sat with it and kind of worked to try to figure out like, oh, why do I have this, and how can I unlearn some of these things that I'm thinking. But I think that kind of just like ruined the book for me a little bit, and it just yeah. So I've seen that one on lists for people who like Sinners, and read the synopsis, see if that's something that you're interested in reading. But yeah, that's one little note I will make about it is that the character is very anti-black, and
Yeah.
it's not really addressed.
Yeah. I only have a few, and most of them I didn't pull from the particular list that were floating around. Um, Mainly because what I was looking for is more um, like the whole genre itself is probably like Southern Gothic horror, but what I was looking for was more historical, and versus it being like specifically black vampires. So for me, what I ended up pulling was The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor LaVale. It's a novella, and this one's more about a musician who ends up um, caught in this world of like sorcery because he wants to play the guitar so well. It's kind of like a Devil and Daniel Webster, like Devil at the Crossroads thing, but set in New York. So this one is really good if you want an aspect of if Sammy were to have gone with Remick, what would that have possibly been like, but in New York. So that one I actually found to be really good. Um, but the other one is the other few are actually nonfiction, and two of them are by the author Imani Perry, and she wrote Black and Blues as well as South to America. And Sama, for you, since you're into like the lighting and the color of it all, you might actually like Black and Blues because it goes through the color blue and its history with Black people. So that one might
Oh,
be a good one for you to read.
you said the author was
South,
Imani Perry.
mhm. And it's called Black and Blues. And it goes over like blues music, the color blue itself, how we've associated blue to be a sad color, but also a happy color for us. She goes through like
Hmm.
water and film and um, like it's just a really beautifully. This one's also particularly short. It's just really beautifully written. And the same goes with South to America, which in that one she discusses like in order to know the soul of America, you have to know the South. Um, so that one's really good as well if you want nonfiction recs. And then the last nonfiction rec is because we brought it up a few times, The Great Migration. This book is called The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson.
I've
And this
always
one
wanted to
goes,
read that. I've just
it's
never
pretty
gotten
thick.
around to it.
So for that one, I just like read snippets. Like each chapter is a different family story about them moving north, whether they moved to Philly, Baltimore, New York, Chicago. It's like whether you went east, further up east, Midwest, or out west. She gets to talk to the some of these people who are still alive or were still alive when she was interviewing them for the book about what it was like to move away from the South
Hmm.
and what that meant for your family. But others are like descendants of them and how that has shaped their life or their vision of the South. So that one's also a really good one if you're looking for nonfiction.
Nope. The only book I have to recommend that I desperately need to read is Immortal Dark by Tigmith Skirma. It is
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's on my TBR for a minute.
this is a I guess I'll call this young adult, new adult. I don't know what they call it, Doc, but
I would
it
go new
it
adult.
yeah, new adult, and it's based off African mythology, but it has vampires and it is a romance. And the second book is coming out in November, which is why I need to read this one next.
Hmm.
Probably on my list, but yeah, I keep looking at my shelves, and I feel like everything I have is like it's a vampire, but it has something else in it, like a werewolf, which isn't the
You always
point.
gotta have one. Gotta have one
Yeah.
werewolf.
Um, but speaking of werewolves, let's get to one of our favorite news segments. Hear me out, but I'm going to put a spin on it. So we've been talking about vampires today, and other mythical beasties. If you had to put yourself into a scenario where you're the female lead in something, a book or an audio or whatever, and you were getting it on with a mythical beastie, what is the mythical beastie you'd pick? Like, is it a dragon? Is it a fae, a shadow daddy,
Love the Shadow
a
Daddy.
demon, stuff like that?
Definitely a demon.
I like werewolves because the idea of being knotted excites me. I don't know why.
It's so funny you say that because I had a whole conversation about that yesterday with some people. I was trying to explain it to them because they didn't really get it. Good times.
Explaining it to people that don't understand it is awkward as fuck. You know what I
It
mean?
really is.
Explaining it to somebody who's never read fan fiction before is hard enough.
Yeah. I tried to do like um I tried to use my hands to kind of illustrate. It was very there's no easy way to
You
explain
know how I illustrate it? I just show them a toy that is meant to look like it's supposed to be a wolf, or I'll like send them a passage of it like well described from something I'm reading. Um, it's always hard though because they're just like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, why?
That's what she said.
Like, how are you not into this?"
Um I okay. I would go with either a vampire or a gargoyle. Because
I
there's
was
just
gonna
something
call
like
you out and make you say gargoyle. Yes.
yeah. Because there's just something like, they're just like sculpted. It would just be interesting because I could imagine myself as a character that maybe works in like a very old building or like a museum, and you're just there late at night working. You hear something moving outside of the window, and I go look. Yeah, let me write that down. Actually,
Yeah,
You
write that
should.
down.
You should. And I also want to blame the animated series on the WB Gargoyles, because the lead female in that was like she was like half black, half indigenous, I think. So
Oh yeah.
that was really interesting. And then the head gargoyle was voiced by
Isn't that
um
cute, David?
well, yeah, the head gargoyle was voiced by he's not it's not Delroy Lindo, but it's someone comparable. He's got a unique voice, and it's a black guy. It's an old
Uh,
Keith
cat.
David?
Keith David, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Keith David was the voice of the. Head gargoyle. So I mean that's I mean, and everybody says the gargoyles are black, so
It
I'm gonna go with that.
I wonder if that's streaming on anything because I've never
should
watched it,
be.
but
It might
that
be on
sounds
Disney
like
Plus,
It
honestly.
probably is on Disney Plus, given that Disney owns a lot of those Fox produced things from the
okay.
past.
Yeah, I'll look
Hmm.
because that might be a good show
Okay.
to revisit.
I think mine would be because I still love Supernatural so much. It might be vampire or
Yes.
demon, and if I can get sort of a, a deeper hear me out in Doctor Facilier from Princess and the Frog.
So I think he's a shadow daddy. So that's
Okay,
a
thank you.
shadow daddy. Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah.
wasn't sure what
I
category
was
you'd fall into.
so I was
Soothsayer,
terrified of
warlock,
him.
male witch. Same diff.
But again,
I was
Keith David
terrified,
voice.
He
and I
also was
just
the soothsayer too. Yeah.
for the fact that that's your hear me out. That man was scary.
I feel like that is in the same vein as like Jafar. Like if you're into Jafar,
I was just
Um,
Yeah.
gonna say.
you know what I mean? Like,
so maybe,
you know what I mean? It's easy. It's
yeah,
kind of easy to figure it out.
yeah.
There's a book I read once. I think what's her name? Is it Katie Roberts? She wrote a book where like Jasmine basically chooses Jafar instead of Aladdin.
Yep, it is called. Shit, it's on my shelf. Where is it?
I still need to read that one because I only read the Emily McIntyre one. I think that one's called Twisted.
Yeah.
And I keep saying I want someone to write a Princess and the Frog one, but I need them to be culturally aware
Yeah,
when
Yeah.
they write
the
that one.
the Katie Robert one is called Desperate Measures. It is from her Wicked Villains
Yes.
series. I mean, and it also I have a special edition of that where they kind of have like a kink guide because they did this
Hmm.
about how she explores her kinks with him, and what they agree to, what they do agree to on a scale from 1 to 5, and they actually discuss it and talk openly about it. And that's kind of how they fall for each other. It's actually pretty good.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
and Katie Robert is a non-binary author that writes a multitude of very diverse characters.
Hmm.
Um, so shout out to her. I like her stuff. She also has a Court of the Vampire Queen, which is just smut with a plot. Um, so if you want to check that out as far as
Yeah,
Vampire Queen is
yeah.
concerned. And I think the Vampire Queen is also plus size.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, she's plus size. That's why I bought it. But
we
yeah,
love that.
yeah. I mean, Katie Robert is plus size, so I think she writes that very well. I also want to throw out bear shifters. If you can shape shift into a big animal, a la Animorphs, I'm into it.
Oh, I just read a Bear Shifter book because Theodore Taylor has like a series of Bear Shifters.
We talked about this the other day, Sama.
He- Oh, we did.
We were like bear shifters, yes. I mean,
We
if you can
did.
shift into a big ass animal and then hold me, like we're just gonna be hibernating all winter if you're a bear shifter.
No, eating honey.
I'm the honey, bitch. What do you mean? Just kidding.
Okay.
That was a friendly bitch. I would never call you a bitch out of context.
we
Apologies.
know.
Oh, that would just that would be so
Bitch.
cute though. I want a
I,
bear.
and like I said, I'm kind of, in a crop top, I look like Winnie the Pooh. So I mean, this works out.
I cannot. First you were a teacup. I mean a teapot. Now you're Winnie the
Teapots
Pooh.
are adorable, and I'm short and round. Like, what do you want from me?
And I start calling you
I
Mrs.
can
Potts.
appreciate it.
Mrs. Potts. Oh, Mrs. Potts. Shout out to Angela Lansbury. Is she still alive?
I don't think so.
She's still around.
Oh, let me
Hold
Google
on.
it because I got a computer right here. Okay, so Tenderoni of the week, gang. Tenderoni of the week. Are we just going to choose Michael B. Jordan because it's easy, or Do we want one like each of us, or do we want to decide now?
Hmm.
I
Dang,
mean,
I
if
can't
we're
remember who
going
I
with
said before we
sinners, and I
started
was gonna say
recording.
Bo Chow.
Oh, yes. Let's go,
Yeah.
Bo. I like Bo. Go,
Let's
Bo.
go, Bo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a good looking cat.
Because the amount of times y'all have put that man's face in that group chat to upset me
Mm-hmm.
is unfair.
Jesus.
Because then I did it to myself because I posted that photo in the group chat of him with his grilling with the fangs, and I said,
Yep.
"Why
Oh
would I do
yeah.
that?" As
Delicious.
Yeah.
soon as
Why?
I
Yeah.
put it
Why
in the
did you
group
do
chat,
that?
I don't
See,
know
you're participating in your own downfall.
exactly why.
I mean, it's just so easy to do when you know your own weaknesses. You can just kind of put them out there for
Yeah.
yourself. You're just
But
an
Not a
you're just addicted to fineness. That's not your fault. You just got good
the
taste.
world, yeah, it's
thank
not.
you.
The world is ugly right now. We need beautiful things to look
As
This is true.
I was just about to say, the world is a vampire.
at. I get that reference, even though
Shout out to
I
Billy
didn't know how
Corgan.
you
Shout
guys
out to
did it.
Billy Corgan. You know what I mean? Um, a
So
cool white guy. Nice. So any parting shots? Any final thoughts, ladies?
When
reading
you watch
comprehension is
Sinners,
important.
yes, when you watch Sinners, really watch it. Don't just like look at the smut
Don't be on
parts
your
of it.
phone. Don't be on your phone. Don't be letting your
Actually look
man
at
talk through it. You know what I'm saying?
it
Don't watch
and
it with your
view the
mama.
history of it. Exactly. View the history of it. View it from not your perspective, from somebody else's. Because you're
Hmm.
missing a whole lot when you just look for the Irish guy.
Yes,
Hmm.
and
Mind you, he is
also
cute though. He is cute.
He is.
he
He played a
he
really
For
is.
good
a
He's
for
vampire.
a
He was
ne'er
fine.
do
very
well,
compelling.
for a ne'er do well, he's cute.
He was a compelling villain. However, I would not have let him in.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like media is there for entertaining. I think we get lost in this idea that because times are really hard right now that you know we should only use media as a source of entertainment and escapism. But I think that could be very dangerous because oftentimes people use media to manipulate you. We're seeing that now currently with this whole American Eagle ad with Sydney Sweeney, and people
Mm-hmm.
not looking at it and seeing it for what it is because
Hmm.
you're not sharpening your reading comprehension skills. You're not sharpening your media literacy skills. And so go into movies. Yes, enjoy them and be entertained, but also, look at it critically. Think about what
Mm-hmm.
the filmmaker is trying to tell you. Because all stories are political. Politics are deeply ingrained in our society. And with a movie, especially like Sinners, where it's set during an era that is so um, important to our current day history because it set the stage for our race relations today.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to be more critical when you're watching movies instead of just like, oh, guy with an accent, or oh, they're making out. Like there's a time and a place for that, but also it's okay to think deeply about things.
Yep.
Hmm.
Morticia, final thoughts.
Uh, don't be a problematic bitch.
I like it.
Just period.
I like it. See, this is why I'm glad you're here.
Add that to a shirt. We need that. Add
I'm
that
gonna
to
Yeah.
the
add
merch
that
Put
to
it
the
store.
on the
merch
merch
list. Like, okay, say it again, Morticia. Merch. Uh, don't be a
Don't be a
problematic bitch.
problematic bitch.
In
Put it
all
on
caps.
bumper stickers. Don't be a problem. I can spell. All right, bitch. All right, I'm gonna add that to the. Goddamn, these degrees, they paying off every day. I'm gonna
Let me add,
co-sign that.
yeah.
There's no better way to end that. We're just gonna end
Mm-hmm.
it now. Damn it, Morticia, welcome. Thank you for coming. This is what we needed.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
this
you for
is
having
exactly
me.
what we needed.
She said, "Don't be a problematic bitch. Don't." Okay, and we also need to put that on some memes, Doc. I'll make
Yeah.
those.
Oh, I think I have the perfect face for it too.
Okay, if you got the perfect face for it, go ahead.
I think so.
Thanks for joining us, everybody who's listening, or haters who are listening. Who as long as you're listening, I get the place. For Doc Dubs and Summer and the fabulous Morticia Black, I'm Trisha Sheeks. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
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 Peace.
Welcome to the table, a safe, sexy, and unapologetic space where Black joy, creativity, community, and pleasure are